Larry Feldman is probably the most amazing trainer that I've ever experienced in this business. I've been in the car business now for 35 years, and I've seen quite a few trainers. And a lot of them are pretty good. I mean, really, I get something out of all of them that I've seen, really. But Larry is in another class. I really mean that. His training is literally riveting. A little while back, I sat in on his first training that I ever sat in on. It was for new hires. I still remember, I'll never forget it. About 25 people in the room who'd never sold cars before. And he started to do his training. And after 2 hours, I was in the back of the room and I raised my hand meekly, and Larry stopped what he was doing and said, yes. And I said, maybe we should take a break. And literally, I'll never forget it. All 25 people turned around, looked at me, and went, well, we're okay. And they turned back to Larry, and Larry looked at me and go, okay. And he kept going for another 2 hours. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself. Since then, I've seen a few other of his trainings. I've hired people out of his classes. Some of those have gone on to management. I'm still in touch with them. I'm good friends with them. But I've seen some great salespeople come out of there. All I can say is you got to give them a try.
Hello there. This is Ian Nethercott from the Auto Hub Show, now in season 6. And this is season 2 of the one-on-one interview show. I have the pleasure of having Mr. Bello, Richie Bello, on today to talk a little bit about him and his background, but more importantly, share some more details on his thoughts on the automotive industry moving forward. So, Richie, maybe you can tell me a little bit more about how you got into this thing we call the auto industry, and a little bit more about you. So go ahead.
Sure. When I was 19, I started in a company called International Honda.
Okay.
All right. And from there, I started being in the car business as a salesperson.
And where are you based out of?
I'm based out of New York.
Okay. And what are the pros and cons in New York City? I lived there years ago, but what are the pros and cons?
Well, I lived in Jersey for quite some time, and then I came out 20-something years ago, 20 plus years ago. And I came out here. I liked it out here. And then from there, I moved on.
Not gonna. So what do you do on your day-to-day now? Obviously, you worked retail. You have a deep experience in automotive. What do you do these days in the auto industry?
Well, what I do now is like Shop Smart Autos.
Okay.
And I started as a lead gen, but what happened was I noticed that the lead generation third party is really a bad process for dealers, right? And it's more about driving traffic to their website and having a conversion. They got a better closing. I mean, the internet leads at a third party are really, really bad now. I
Nice.
mean, a couple of years ago, it was not a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's just third party, because COVID came out, and what happened was they were sharing more and more leads, so it was like a mess. So what I did was I developed the data platform with Shop Smart Autos, which I have everybody's feeds anyway. So what I did was I got the VIN retention, which that feed is we have a history of it, 5-year history with Shop Smart Auto, and another 5 years as the feed company. So we got 10 years of history with that feed.
Interesting. I years ago, I actually worked for a company that's in the mortgage, and they were getting into the car business at the time in the lead space, and they were trying to do things in the selling of leads to car dealers in the subprime space specifically. Their main product actually helps people find lower rate credit cards and mortgages. So that's how they acquire leads. And the biggest thing I learned from that experience, where I sold leads coast to coast in the Canadian market, mostly to subprime dealers, was that some of the competitors in the space, it was about the lead quality was extremely poor, but the other challenge was they were reselling leads to multiple people. So is that what you found, or what has been?
Yeah, that's exactly what I found. Like when you do an ad through Facebook to the dealership, it has a much higher conversion as when you do third party lead generation. And then I figured out, well, third party, no wonder their retention is so bad. I started running reports. And because those customers don't really belong to the dealership, those customers went online and shop cars.com. So cars.com's retention is really good. for
Right.
an example, because they reach out, Cars Guru, they reach out to those customers that are in the market the next time, and they have all this technology behind them. So they're controlling the market. I came into the business way before this third party lead generation existed, right?
Right.
So the retention in dealership was the highest, 60, 70% in sales and all that. And I don't think there's anything that the dealership does wrong. It's just that buying third party lead generation, really what it does, it provides that to that company like Shop Smart Autos. It would provide those are our customers. So we'll reach out to them and we'll do that marketing thing as the next time they're in the market because it has the data stamp. So we have every email on there that is stamped with the time. So then you start following people up within the next 6, 7 months, and you're always following up. If they know somebody, oh, they can be trading in the car. They might be unhappy with the
Right.
vehicle that they purchased, right? So, and noticing what that happened, then I decided let's do the VIN retention report. And let me start today. It's automated. It takes 17 seconds to run. So the whole thing with that, there's a big problem in our industry with vehicles in operation.
Okay.
And that's a real serious problem. You know, if you look at the brands, like for an example, Ford has a great retention, but the dealerships itself don't really have that retention anymore. Vehicles in operation. Well, why? Because you got, Costco putting tires on, you got
Right.
DJs doing it, you got Pep Boys, you got a lot of different stuff going after that dealership, and
Right.
then there's an upsell there, and then that upsell the dealership's losing. So the vehicles in operation are really depleting a
Right.
lot. So with the VIN retention report, you could always reach out to, even if you lost that customer, chances are you lost a customer to the same brand, you
Right.
know,
So,
and
so
you can reach out with that.
So when you look at sort of the lead space, the retention space, obviously conversion being a big piece, cost of lead acquisition being a big piece, what is your advice to a dealer who says, hey, I have a website, I got a bunch of rooftops, I generate XYZ amount of leads, but I'm buying leads from CarGurus or Cars.com or Auto Trader, or you pick it, Dealer.com, whatever. Why should they sort of not do that? And if they are doing that, what kind of benchmark should they be looking at as to if that even makes sense these days?
Well, it's real simple. Like for an example, let's take an example here, like Cars Guru.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to spend money in Cars Guru. You're going to spend money in Google and Facebook and all that, where there's different products today, which is DMS marketing,
Yep.
right? So cleanse your DMS, and we have that data for you to cleanse it.
Mhm.
Cleanse your DMS and reach out to your own customers.
Right.
So, and that's more important than actually spending the money with Cars Guru and all that. Keep getting in people's email and keep getting in people's SMS, and you're just communicating with the people. It's all about the communication process. If you communicate with that customer, you're going to control that customer, even though it's from cars.com, because now you're sending out this same information that cars.com has been doing for decades.
Right.
Same thing. So by you doing DMS marketing, it's going to just happen for you. You're staying in touch with the customer. And let's face it, could you make more money with a cars.com customer versus a customer that's your own customer? The answer to that is no. If you retain that customer, you're going to be able to not have to worry about selling them so much the dealership,
Right.
not so much selling them on yourself. Chances are that salesperson is still there, because the retention today on salespeople and all that is a lot better than it used to be with pay plan changes and all that. There's a lot of stores that have a great retention. Of course, there's stores that have a terrible retention, but there's a lot more that are better retaining their salespeople than anything else. So that's a very big part of retaining your customers. Let's face it, retention is key. It's just like a vendor. If you don't retain customers, you're not going to get anywhere. If you don't retain customers in any industry, it's just a no-brainer. And right now, you're at $700 a copy I believe, through NADA, the last
Right.
numbers that I saw,
Yep.
and concentrate on retaining your customers. By the way, the motorsport industry has been retaining that and have been doing that DMS marketing for quite some time. And it's very important to retain your customer. The value of your franchise goes up. The factory is very happy with you. The OEMs, your retention is good.
Yep.
I mean, it's very, very important.
So what about the different sides of the business? And I did an interview yesterday, which I haven't had a chance to edit yet, but we were talking a little bit about sales, parts, service, body shop, those four main silos that are in some dealerships. Some don't have a body shop, but let's just say it's those four. Is this something that they can do in any department? Is this something they can do, say, in finance even? I mean, what's your thought there?
Well, the my thought on there is real easy. With the VIN number that you have, you cross-reference it to the customer, so you can reach out to that customer, even if they didn't buy a car from you. The last time, you can retain them in your service department. You can retain them in your parts department. You can retain them in your F&I department. You can try to bring them back. What about if that customer didn't get a warranty? What about if that customer didn't get the product? You have a shot of staying in touch with that customer. As service is the biggest thing. I mean, you start retaining the customers you lost to service, that's just going to increase. And there's a way of doing this with these DMS marketers that they are out there.
Yep.
I mean, it's very, very important to retain your customers. I believe a lot in the retention part,
Yeah.
and only because I tried the third party lead generation and I realized that, well, the reason their conversion is not that great is because you're reaching out to a new customer,
Yeah. It's
right?
a cold lead, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lead. And what happened in the car business years ago, you have professional salesperson that would just concentrate on, I have a lead, it's my job to sell it. Nowadays, they see a lead and they think it's a deal. Well, you gotta nurture that lead and you gotta build that relationship and you gotta bring him in. It's not a deal. It's just you just have a lead,
Yeah,
you
it's an
know?
opportunity, but it may not be a good one. But
Right,
but
right.
yeah, when you look at 2025 though, and I know there's all kinds of stuff around privacy regulation changes, and I've had multiple guests that talk about the perishable database a dealer has just because they haven't reached out to those customers that are their active customers for a long time. What do you think is going to change this year as we see, inventories growing and interest rates being a little higher and maybe dealers not making the money they were making a couple of years ago? Like, what do you see is something that they need to focus on that's different, say, in 2025 versus 2024?
Well, if you look at the private seller network, which I have that, the report comes out, and you've seen the report, right?
Yeah,
The report comes out in one place, you can see everything, the private sellers and all that.
yeah.
So let's look at something a minute, right? Dealers are losing trade-ins
Oh yeah,
to the private seller network. Now, let's talk about that. Why is that? You got great technology out there that gives you what that vehicle is going to be at wholesale, right?
right.
So the used car managers and all that, we're all thinking about wholesale because V Auto has a product line which is the best product that I've seen. Great
Yeah,
product. But it keeps the person looking at the car as like wholesale. You got to put on your retail shoes, right? A little bit. And the way to appraise a car is really, what could I sell this car retail for?
right.
You got to make that decision right on the curve. Is it retail or is it wholesale? Well, guess what? It's retail. Okay. Now, what could I sell it for? What do I want to make on the car? $5,000? Okay, 5,000. What is the going retail price? Right. And then you back it down to the cost and you back down your reconditioning. Right.
Yeah,
Instead of just looking at a technology piece, and that's what it's become. The car business is like we have lost that common sense thing because so much technology. Well, wait a minute, what could I get the car for? And you've been in the car business a long time with Honda and
yep,
all that. You know the drill.
yeah,
Like, you're losing tremendous amount of deals to the private seller network. When you look at a dealership where he's losing 5 to 6% to the private seller network, well, why is that? Why did he lose his car in that network? You know,
A
now,
lot of that is, I think, these vehicle buying centers. I mean, you see a lot of dealers who are not only appraising cars for customers maybe in service or people that come in and want to buy a car, but they're going out and actively going after those customers that may have been yours, whether it be a vehicle acquisition network or VinQ or whatever software it's out there. But essentially, what these dealers are doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to have dedicated people that all they do is buy cars. They're just
right,
buying used cars. That's all they're doing, and they're actually changing the whole auction game simultaneously, because why would you buy a car for more at auction or for even a similar price when you can get that car from a consumer, but more importantly, possibly sell a car simultaneously? So I think there's a bigger picture there, but there's also a shift happening at the same time where it's like, if I'm not touching those customers or servicing those cars or talking to those customers or reaching out to them, someone else might be and probably is. And I think that's where things have shifted over the last 2 years. Is it used to be, yeah, do you have it? Can I buy it for over retail? And now it's like, why should I come buy it in the first place? Right. And I think that's what's shifted. And when you look at brands, even as successful as Tesla, for example, they're having challenges selling product because there's a lot of options. So to your point, if you're not retaining your existing customers and you're not maximizing those opportunities, can you really afford to be buying leads and hoping that's going to work out? I think you got to get your own house in order first. I mean, that's kind of my thought process. So, how do you help dealers who want to do that? Who say, "Hey, I'm losing all this stuff. Like, how do I fix that?"
well, fix it by educating them, training them, and showing them that a car is worth what it's worth. Like, for an example, if you look at the private seller network
Yeah,
where you see the vehicles going, right?
yeah,
Then you also see them going to these auctions, to these online
yeah,
auctions, right? Now, what is that? The data actually talks to you, right? So when I look at a rooftop, right, and the rooftops only retaining 10%, and I have one that's only retaining 10%. However, within his brand, when you look
yeah.
at the group itself,
Hmm?
he's retaining 49%,
Yeah, not bad.
right? So he's losing all the other deals to the other stores. So just like I know, the OEM knows, and you were an OEM guy, right? So
Yeah,
what's the first thing you look at? How much rebate is there in a Mitsubishi versus a Chevy?
yeah,
Oh, wait, there's more of a rebate in the Mitsubishi example than the Chevy store. So they're taking the Chevy store's customers and putting them
yeah,
to get rid of the cars, right? So that's like co-op. You got problems now with, you got all kinds of problems, right? So
yep,
what is going on? And why did the co-op stop at 10%? Because you're retaining 10% of them, right? So they now you're underperforming store. So now you got that letter, boom, you were an OEM. When you get that letter, what happens? Everything stops. Floor plan assistance, if you're a Chevy store,
yeah,
stops. This stops, that stops.
yeah,
But why are you doing it? You're doing it because you have a problem that you're getting rid of the vehicle, and you have to bury that negative equity, and it's understandable. So the data actually talks to you and sees it. They say the CEO space, the enterprise CEO space, all you need is analytics. These
yeah,
CEOs are monitoring their companies based on analytics. And the VIN retention report is a very important thing, is as important as the daily operating control, right? You have that daily operating control as a desk manager or as a general manager on top of your desk, and you know the kind of deals to take and what not to take
right.
to keep your averages right. Well, it's the same way with the VIN retention report, right? Knowing that you are retaining customers is important, and knowing that you're not retaining customers is also important, because now let's come up with a process to retain those customers. What should be the process? Today, it's easy. We're not talking about 20 years ago when Reynolds and Reynolds had the DMS and it was a nightmare. They had to
Yeah,
hire R.O. Polk and Company to clean up the data. It was like a mess. Today,
yeah,
you have the stuff online. I can provide it to you. You can clean up your DMS data and actually hit in market customers.
Right.
You know if a customer's in market. If the lease is up within 6 months, you start your DMS marketing there. If you know their loan is expiring within 6 or 7 months, you start doing that, right? So today with the DMS marketing, it's like a no-brainer. Hire these companies that do DMS for you. It's much, I think it's 1,800 or 2,000 a month. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, if you go on Google or Facebook, you're spending 30 or 40 grand a month.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You
absolutely.
know? And why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
Even if you get a small percentage of the customer, but every time you get that customer, your $700 a copy drops
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
tremendously. I mean, it's huge. So, and the more you do it and the more you're out there writing your customers, the better it is. Since COVID, we learned something. Email marketing is really great. SMS marketing is really great because a lot of companies, non-automotive,
Yeah.
started doing that and really got a lot out of it. So much that Google came up with email marketing, with this, with that, the black. They became like, because they saw their revenue drop. So it does work. It's a platform that we should be using
Yeah.
tremendously because let's face it, when you retain a customer, the value of your franchise goes tremendous. If you're selling your place, you got a retention of 70%, whether it's in service or sales.
Right.
Now you got absorption in a dealership. The reason that your absorption doesn't exist anymore is because of all the money we're spending and we're not retaining the customer. So your gross profit in dealerships and the service center is dropping.
Yeah.
And the cars are being made better today than they were. So your average hours per hour are what, 2.4, 2.5,
Yeah.
especially in an area where you're penetrating so much leasing. So, and if you're not retaining, you're really losing, you
Oh,
know.
100%. So
So
let's say a dealer wants to get, their arms around that problem. They want to, take the money that they're losing, that's on the table that they're losing, and solve that problem. Like, how does that work? Like, how could they get started? Can they get this report for you? Like how does that work?
yeah, they can go right online, Shop Smart Autos for dealers.
Details will be below in the description. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
shopsmartautosfordealers.com,
Okay.
and it's right on there. You can purchase the report there. The report is $150, and we
Okay.
give you the full report, but we also give you all your VIN numbers that you've lost and the ones you've kept, and you can check out that if it's true or not. We've been doing testing for the last year and a half since before we became automation, right, in the state of Florida
Yep.
in a lot of stores, and the accuracy is 98.7%. I just sent out to a new client that we have that's DMS marketing. He verified it. He told me you're right around that number. I verified already with the DMS. So the cleansing is very important, because now you're converting it to in-market audience.
Right.
And we wanted to build that and do that to help the dealership retain their customers and stop spending money with this third party lead generation that really, really, as a third party lead generation company, really, really, it doesn't work.
Right.
And in reality, it doesn't work. You'll get 200 leads and you'll sell cars, but what is the effort and the time? Now you have a morale issue with that. You got your BDC department following up 100 customers and they got 5 appointments.
Yeah.
So now that you're putting them to work, they go, oh, here we go again. So it's a mindset thing too.
Go
You're,
these people.
you're
Go
yeah,
more people.
yeah, like you're destroying these people. And that's the one thing that I learned about it, that I didn't want my name out there like that. So I decided let's build the data part, the data modules, and we did. And it took us 2 years to build this.
So once they have I guess the benchmark or once you've illustrated or shone the light on the problem, what other services do you offer that maybe help them solve that problem if maybe they don't have that handled?
Well, right now, what we offer is the VIN retention. We're focusing more on the data, right? And we also have the search technology that we know who's shopping for what on certain zip codes. We're not ready to send that out. Probably in the middle of the year, we will be
Okay.
the search data. So, listen, data is very big today. It's always been big. If you go back to the days of RO Polk, the grassroots meetings, you were an
Yeah.
OEM, so you
Yeah.
know you can pull up these reports,
Yeah.
right? And data was always important. And now data is more important. And the online data is really important. Not only that, you can go and if you're a marketing company, you can strategize and find out ABC Motors, how does he compare to the rest of his marketplace? And you can come up with a strategy to target your customers.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. Well, thanks very much for taking the time today. Obviously, if you want more details, it'll be in the description below. If you're going to be at NADA, I'm going to be at the Velo booth, so I'll be doing interviews the entire show, and love to connect at the show in New Orleans. And have yourself a great day. Thanks for watching, and appreciate all the insight, Mr. Bello. And have yourself a great weekend. I'm sure 2025 is going to be a great year. Obviously, lots of opportunities. Some people call them challenges. I always call them opportunities. And get better and grow your business. And last but not least, retain your customers. Because if you're not, someone else is stealing them, and that's just not a good look. Don't let someone
Right.
else steal your lunch and your business in 2025. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah.